What's going on, guys? It is A Spacey, and in this video I'm going to go over 5 weapons I want from Battlefront 2015 to be remastered into Battlefront 2. Because let's be honest, the weapon situation in Battlefront 2 is literally more drier than the Sahara Desert. I am getting kind of tired of playing the same 4 weapons for my assault class, and I know a lot of you guys are too. And honestly, if we do not get new weapons in the near future, I would really prefer, remastered weapons from Battlefront 2015. Because they had a lot of good weapons in the 2015 Battlefront. I'm going to give the top 5 that I really hope can make it into Battlefront 2. Let's begin. Starting off with number 5 is the K16 Briar pistol. Now, I would easily give this to the officer. Now, this was a pretty special weapon because it had a secondary fire, and if it was to be added, it would be the second weapon in Battlefront 2 that would have the secondary fire. The first is obviously the TL50 for the heavy. Now, it would be pretty cool to see the gameplay dynamic, with officers having heavy pistols, because officers generally have lighter weapons. But I would love to see how this would play out. And obviously would have to be pretty smart on when to use the secondary fire and when to use, the primary fire. And just, I would love to see the dynamic of how it would work in Battlefront 2. But let's move on. Moving on to number 4 is the T21 Heavy Blaster. Now, I would give this weapon to the Heavy, maybe the Assault, but most likely the Heavy because it literally was a heavy blaster. Again, this weapon would be pretty different from the other heavy weapons that we have in the game so far. Just because of its rate of fire, it was pretty slow, and most of the heavy weapons we have now have a pretty fast rate of fire. So you would really have to focus more on precision instead of rapid fire. So yeah, if you're a person that is really good at hitting their shots and you love playing as the heavy, then I feel like this weapon would really be for you. Just because I think this weapon would probably do the most damage out of all weapons, to compensate for that low rate of fire. But again, like I said before, I'd be really interested to play the T21 as a heavy. Now, for all your 2015 Battlefront players, comment down below what would you prefer in the game, the T21 or the T21B. I would love to hear it, but let's move on. Moving on to number 3 is the Relby V10. Now, this weapon is already in the game. Bosk has it, so the model of the weapon is already in the game. But yeah, I remember one of the reasons I like this weapon so much is kind of the rate of fire and the damage. I felt like it was pretty perfect, and I feel like this would be a great weapon for the assault class. Like I said before, it would be really cool to have, and obviously it would play really different than Bosk's weapon. But maybe if this weapon was ever to be added in the game, we could have a secondary fired attached. We could have like a grenade launcher attached as a secondary fire option, like the TL50 or the Briar pistol. Maybe basically, how I'm thinking of it is just literally attach the Barrage Star car onto this weapon, and that would be pretty good. But even if the Barrage isn't added in the game, I would still really much love to see the Relby V10 back in Battlefront 2 for the assault class. But yeah, moving on to number 4 is the CJ9 bow rifle. Now, this weapon didn't have a secondary fire, but it had like a melee strike that would electrocute enemies. And I felt like this weapon was more of an assault type weapon in Battlefront 2, maybe a heavy, but honestly I feel like they should remodify the rate of fire and the damage as well as the range and make it a specialist type weapon. Kind of felt like a specialist type weapon at its moments, and I'm gonna be honest with you, out of each class in Battlefront 2, the one I have been meleeed by the most is the specialist, so giving him that special electrical strike would be pretty special. But yeah, CJ9 bow rifle would be a great specialist weapon, and I would really hope to see it in the game remodified for snipers. But let's move on to the 5th and final weapon. And moving on to the 5th and final weapon is the DT12. This was a pistol, and it was another weapon that I like to use a lot. Now, this weapon did have a pretty short range, but its damage was pretty amazing, and obviously this would clearly go to the officer class. Anyone who likes to play with precision weapons and play as an officer, this weapon is definitely for you. Just got to make sure you hit those shots, and the high damage can clear out enemies. So that's the reason why I would prefer the DT12. I don't really have much to say about the DT12. It had a pretty small range, but again, as long as you're precise and hit those shots, then you're going to do great with this weapon. But that is going to end it off for this video, guys. Please comment down below what weapon you would like to see in Battlefront 2 from Battlefront 2015. I would love to hear your responses. But this has been A Spacey. Please consider subscribing and liking this video. I'm trying to hit 100 subs before the end of 2019. But yeah, have a nice day, and I'll see you all later. Peace out, everyone.